Today's learning resource is brought to you by three partners: Youth Enterprise Development Fund, KCA University, and the University of Nottingham, under the co-production for youth entrepreneurship in Kenya, COPEC project, supported by the British Council.
Welcome viewers to this presentation of Access to Government Procurement Opportunities, in short, Agpo. My name is Maurice Ondiek from the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Agpo is an affirmative action initiative by government to economically empower special interest groups through government procurement opportunities. These special interest groups refer to women, youth, and people with disabilities. For a long time, the government procurement opportunities, the tenders, the contracts, as people know them, has been a field for people who are wealthy, people who are well established in business, people who have massive resources. And this has not been the character of these special groups of youth who may lack resources, who lack experience, who are not established, and mostly they are not having deep resources like senior entrepreneurs. Again, people with disabilities have been considered in this category, as well as women. So who qualifies for Agpo? We have the women. Here, we just look at the gender. If you are a woman, you qualify. Age is not an issue. For the women, there is no age limit. Then we have the persons living with disabilities. It is not enough for you to have disabilities and then hope that you'll get government consideration. One must go beyond just having the disability and having the disability registered. Those who are registered as persons living with disabilities are given an ID card or an identity, a number by the National Council of Persons Living with Disabilities. And those are the people who qualify to obtain this government preferential treatment. So we advise any person who has a disability to go beyond that and register with the National Council of Persons with Disability if they intend to benefit from this program. As for the youth, who is a youth? The definition of a youth can take three angles. One, we can look at a youth as the individual, a man or a woman who is above 18 years of age, but below the age of 35. So this person can have his own business and be considered for Agpo. We can also look at youth in terms of youth groups. A youth group is an entity where 70% of its members are youth, and 30% can be above that the youth category. However, in that particular group again, the leadership of that group, that is the officials, in most cases we usually talk about the chairman, the secretary, and the treasurer, or any other official position that they have. Those official positions should be in the hands of young people. That is the definition of a youth group. The third angle is the company, a youth-owned company. A youth-owned company is a company where 70% of the shareholding is in the hands of persons who are below the age of 35 years. And the remaining 30% can be in the hands of people who are above that age bracket. So how do we get to know that this company is for a young person? You will be required to produce a CR12. As you do your registration, a CR12 is an extract that shows the company ownership, the shareholding distribution within that company. And therefore, it is important as young people or women register for their enterprises to clearly indicate who owns what shares, so that if majority, 70% of that shares, more than 70% of the shares is in the hands of the that special group, then that company will be considered. Agpo came in to solve the problem of unfair competition. Young people were considered disadvantaged. The same applied to women and persons living with disability. Because established entrepreneurs and big businesses could get some tenders based on their experience and advantage of networks. Some have very broad branch networks, even international networks, and also their resources base. So government considered these young people, women and persons with disabilities, for particular categories of procurement opportunities. Not all procurement opportunities in government are meant for Agpo, but government made a consideration for some small or for some limit in procurement to be left for these special groups. And in most tenders, they cite, you will see a tender that is indicated closed, closed meaning it is closed for that particular group, or for special groups, or sometimes they even indicate Agpo category. They can even go further and indicate whether it is for women, for youth, or for persons with disabilities. You are a young person who has registered a business. You are a young person or in a group or a company that would wish to participate in tenders. Most youth would say it is difficult to obtain government tenders, yet they have never tried. Or if they have tried, they are trying to compete in the wrong pool. You are a youth, but you are trying to compete with established entrepreneurs. It will be a big challenge. If you are a youth under Agpo, you only compete with youth and women and people with disabilities. Special groups compete amongst themselves. So how do you register Agpo? For you to register Agpo, you go to the National Treasury website or the portal there. You'll find registration for Agpo. What is required for you to be registered, because this process is free of charge. They don't charge. And if you have a challenge with accessing the National Treasury portal, you can go to Huduma Center. What is required of you is that business registration certificate, the group certificate or company certificate of incorporation. Then secondly, they require an ID. This will now show whether you are in those categories. For women and youths, you will require to produce the national ID card. And for people with disability, you may go further and produce, beyond the national ID, the ID for persons living with disability. Then you will also be required to produce a PIN certificate, and then a tax compliance certificate. A PIN certificate will be for an individual, it can be for the group, or it can be for the company. What is a tax compliance certificate? Because this is where most of the young people have challenges when it comes to Agpo registration. You ask them, they have a business registered? Yes. They have an ID? Yes. They have a PIN? Yes. But the tax compliance certificate is where now most people despair. For you to get a clean tax compliance certificate, you must be filing returns. That's simply abiding by the rules. Filing returns mean declaring to the government what you have earned or what you have not earned if you don't work. And simply it is you giving a statement that I make money or I don't make money. For those who make money, you declare how much and what is taxable. For those who don't make money, you declare nil returns, and still that is acceptable. It is simply a statement of where you are. So people should not look at it as a punishment, but as a communication to government. Being someone who is above the age of majority, be engaged economically in income-generating activities, to declare whether they generated income or they did not. Either way, the statement comes from the business, the owner, or the young person. Once you have done that, every financial year before 30th June, you file tax returns through iTax. You may go through the KRA portal and you'll see a guidance on how to file tax, even from your phone, or how to engage in tax compliance. Once you have these documents, you submit, you upload online, then you make an application and you'll receive a tax compliance certificate. Having received that, you are now empowered to engage in government procurement. What is required for this category? It's a special group that will not undergo pre-qualification. All what they do is to be registered as supplier. Pre-qualification in government tenders is done towards the end of financial year, and then it takes some time. But for this category, anybody, even if you register a business today and obtain an Agpo certificate today, much as they are existing suppliers, you can be registered in that list if you have the documents. So once the young person has obtained the Agpo certification, he or she can now visit government procuring entities. One of the questions people ask, which are these government procuring entities? And what do I procure? What does government procure? Government is big. When you see, sometimes say, I don't see a building written government, but government is big. All those government functions are representation of government institutions. I'll just give an example. All schools, public schools are government institutions. They consume a lot in terms of procurement. They consume foodstuffs. They consume ICT equipment. They consume cleaning services. They consume supplies for the lab, and many other things. We have hospitals, government public hospitals. They consume medicine, lab equipment, stationaries, hospitality services, linen, and many other things. Then we also have military barracks and police training colleges. These are government institutions that consume massive, in terms of foodstuffs, quantities. They consume uniforms. They have shoes, and many other things that young people can engage in. We also have state corporations like Kenya Power, Youth Fund, KRA, with special considerations. Like Kenya Power consumes a lot of electrical equipment, generators, and many, the cables, the posts, and many other things that young people can supply if those items have been categorized as Agpo. Now, having looked at what is available, even within counties, there are small works in the construction. We have construction of classrooms, road clearing, upgrading of roads. These are tenders that young people can also participate in. What is required for these young people to engage? If you have identified you want to be registered as a supplier in Youth Fund, in Kenya Power, or in any other organization, how do you undertake to be registered? This is how you go about it. One, you prepare your documents, and these documents include the certificate of business registration, the Agpo certificate. You also develop a profile, like a CV. If you know this institution procures food, prepare a CV highlighting the type of food that you offer. If they are procuring beans, you say you have beans, this type of beans, the yellow beans, the other beans, and the others. And you prepare a profile showing even your competitiveness in terms of services you offer. Maybe you offer delivery of those goods free of charge. Any other thing that would make you competitive. Once you have developed your profile, you also now attach your PIN certificate and certificate of tax compliance. With these documents, You now walk to all these procurement entities, be it a hospital, be it a public hospital, a school, state corporation, a barrack. Then you request to see the person, the officer in charge of procurement, and you give them a copy of these documents. They will register you as a supplier. If they had 42, once they consider you, you'll be number 43. Meaning that as a supplier now, you can be able to participate in government contracts. Wherever you are, you can go relax. When they need goods and services, they'll call you. And when they call you, they'll ask you now to provide either they will ask you to participate in the tender by providing a quotation or any other means of tender they may consider. So up to that point, you realize that it is very easy and it does not require any amount of money for a young person, a woman, or a person with disability to participate in government tenders if he or she has registered a business. It is an opportunity that most people fear, maybe because of stereotypes. For those who have gone through it, have given their experiences. But remember, we are not the same. What you went through is not what I'll go through. Times have changed, and we encourage as many young people and women and persons living with disability to take advantage of this government affirmative action program and apply for many tenders as possible to better their lives. I wish you success as you embark on this journey to becoming one of the new procuring entities in government procurement opportunities. Thank you.